I need the Houston Rockets to suck. What it do, podcast people? Today, we are here with my 30 NBA headlines that I've done for every NBA team through week one. So I'm just going to get right into it. I've been very, very excited for this NBA season. More excited for any NBA season in recent memory, for me at least. Is it because of Victor Wembanyama? No, I would have preferred he's in a Houston Rockets jersey, but I'm just very excited that basketball is back. So, without further ado, I'm going to start with the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Atlanta Hawks are a team with a very weird backcourt, and that's what I've put down for them. I think that this team needs to move on from a DeJounte Murray. Trae Young has the ability to be a top point guard in the NBA, but I just think that the DeJounte Murray aspect of it takes the ball out of his hand. This team is in a make-or-break year to make the playoffs, and I think that's a very weird floor for Trae Young for his fifth year in the NBA. He should be already in contention if he wants to be, excelled into that star status. Moving on to Boston, the Celtics. Obviously, they made a lot of moves, getting Kristaps Porzingis, Jrue Holiday, but they moved on from a lot of pieces as well, like Marcus Smart, Grant Williams. We're taking the under. I don't see how this team remains healthy through an 82-game season, especially with Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford. Jaylen Brown is known to get into some injury trouble. Same thing with Jrue Holiday. I just don't see how this team remains healthy through an 82-game season plus playoffs. And obviously their goal is winning a championship. I don't see this team coming out of the East. I don't see them remaining healthy. We're taking the under. But the Celtics usually prove me wrong. Circa 2021 when they took the Warriors to 6 games. Now, obviously they lost, but, it's the Boston Celtics. For the Brooklyn Nets, I put thank you for the draft picks. Also, best case after moving on from their big three. Now, I'm a Rockets fan, so I'm very thankful for the draft picks that we've received from them in the James Harden deal. But they're still not as bad as I wanted them to be with those draft picks. They're still not that bad. But you traded Kevin Durant for Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. You traded James Harden basically for Ben Simmons, who actually is, playing basketball for you all. So I think that's kind of a win. And then, of course, you trade Kyrie Irving. If sort of a lateral move in that Kyrie Irving trading for like a Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie. But that being said, you do have serviceable starters in that rotation, as well as Cameron Thomas coming in with a breakout year. I think right now he's averaging somewhere around 30 points per game. That is a very, very solid team. Do I see them making any noise in the playoffs? Not really, but I do think after moving on from their big three, them not being 100% into the tank, I think is very, very impressive. Although it does make me a little angry that I'm not getting the full value out of those draft picks that we traded for James Harden. Charlotte, I put Michael Jordan draft picks because Michael Jordan has it's basically come out from the ownership and the management that Michael Jordan has been making the draft picks for the Charlotte Hornets as long as he has been the owner. And I think that has been terrible. He's like 1 for 12. The only pick I like is Brandon Miller, and that's why I put this down, because I think Brandon Miller is going to be a stud. Right now, off the bench, he's averaging like 17 points on pretty good shooting. And I think for a rookie in his first 4 games, that's really impressive. And I think even with the expectations that were put on him, like he wasn't even really supposed to go number 2. There's the infamous clip of the Charlotte Hornets mascot like bowing his head after the Hornets selected Brandon Miller at number 2. Everyone wanted Scoot. And I think for the expectations to just be thrown out that like, yo, okay, I actually am this number 2. Y'all got someone like this. I'm not no Darko Milicic. Like, I think that's very impressive. So Michael Jordan, you are now 1 for 12 in your draft board. Congratulations. And he just got like a huge paycheck selling the team. He got like $2 billion. So Michael Jordan, the GOAT. The Bulls, I wanted to stay away from trades in this list because I could say that any team is going to trade someone. This I put 10-time defensive first team Alex Caruso. I think Alex Caruso is going to be a 10-time defensive first team which is kind of weird to think about, being a scrawny white guard from Texas A&M. But he makes a huge impact on the defensive end for the Bulls. I do think the Bulls, now I didn't write this down, but I think the Bulls will move on from Zach LaVine. I think that his value will significantly increase from the start of the season, and I think that the Bulls will end up moving on from him. But that being said, the Bulls are kind of just there, in my opinion. I hope Lonzo gets better, because he is actually really exciting to watch. But the Bulls. Moving on to the Cavs, I put achieving league average. I think that this team is just the definition of average. I think it's Donovan Mitchell, and then what else? Like, I really like Evan Mobley. He's young, and I think he has the ability to develop some offensive game. He's already making an impact defensively, but we're still looking for that offense from Evan Mobley. Other than that, Garland hasn't played that many games this year. Darius Garland, their starting point guard. It's a really weird team. The Allen and Mobley front court, I don't know, is going to work. But like, that being said, like, everyone has Cleveland in my eyes in this, like, oh, they're a top 4 in the East. I just don't think that. Like, why would you have Cleveland ahead of, like, Miami when Miami just took they were just in the finals. They took, Denver to 6 or 7. They were the 8th seed and rolled through the East. Why would you put Miami below Cleveland, and when Cleveland lost to the Knicks last year in the first round? So yeah, I think Cleveland is just the definition of average. I just think that they'll achieve on par with what I expect from them. No more, no less. Dallas, I'm going to have a lot of angry comments with this one. I have them as a play-in lock, not a playoff lock, play-in lock. I have them as a 9 seed going into the play-in. Even though that they started off this season 4-0, Luka this is what I should have wrote down. Luka is the second best player in the NBA. That's what I should have wrote down. But they're 4-0 right now. I don't see this team being able to keep up defensively with a lot of the Western juggernauts. You really need Luka and Kyrie to come out there and drop you 50 points a game. And where is the defensive versatility on this team besides a Grant Williams and a rookie Derek Lively, who is, yes, put on a showing through his first week of NBA action, but it's a rookie. Do you really expect him to go out there and guard Nikola Jokic, guard Giannis, guard Joel Embiid? I don't. I really don't. But it is impressive that it is a rookie out there being your second best defender. Sad for the Mavericks, impressive from his part. Where am I on this list? Denver, Denver I have back-to-back. They're going back-to-back. They're getting another ring with the greatest side hustler of all time, Nikola Jokic. I'm saying he's the greatest side hustler of all time because the NBA is this dude's side hustle. He doesn't care. And he's still the best player in the world. He doesn't care. He'll go out and race you horses. He doesn't care. I love him. He is so fun to watch. They lose a Bruce Brown in the free agency, and they come back. They didn't even miss a step. They didn't lose anything. Christian Brown's out there balling out for you. Aaron Gordon is balling. Of course, the MVP Jokic. Jamal Murray is looking like an all-star. This is the best team in the NBA, in my opinion. This is the team that is going to go back-to-back. This is the team you need to beat. The Denver Nuggets with the MVP Nikola Jokic. Detroit basketball. I put Cade resurgence. Cade Cunningham coming off his ACL, or no, was it an ACL? Maybe been an Achilles. Some injury. It was a major one. I can't believe I'm blanking on it right now. I shouldn't be. And I also put we really passed on Ausar. I'm very upset now that the Rockets passed. They drafted Amen Thompson and passed up on Ausar. I wasn't too familiar with the OTE league coming into this draft, but I remember seeing the Amen highlights, and I know they're just highlights, so I should really just take these with a grain of salt. And he was kind of just looking like a big guard, passing the ball in with a little bit of athleticism and some defense. And I was like, sweet. That's a pretty good draft pick. I can't be that mad about it. But then I look at Ausar's highlights, and he's just dunking on the whole team. He's got handles. He's got a jump shot. And I'm like, yo, we just passed on the wing defender. We passed on someone who could really, really make an... Like, right now, Amen's coming off... Amen's coming off the bench. Ausar could be a starter on the Houston Rockets. He should be a starter on the Houston Rockets. I'm upset. And I know this turned into a Houston Rockets talk with the Detroit Pistons. Ausar was a good draft pick. I know you Pistons fans were mad that you got the 5th pick, or the 4th pick. The 5th pick. You got Ausar. It was the 5th pick. Wow, that sucks. Sweet. Oh, I shouldn't have bumped that mic. Now Victoria's going to get mad at me. Golden State, one of the big four will miss significant time. They traded for Chris Paul, which I have already openly stated that this offense will not work with Chris Paul. He slows down the offense too much when Golden State relies on the fast pass and cut offense to get Curry and Clay open. They rely on the speed to get their guys open because, they shoot a lot of three-pointers. So I see, now that is completely different from my other point, I see one of the big four missing significant time, whether it be a Chris Paul, a Steph, a Clay, or a Draymond. This is a stupid old NBA team. Usually teams that make a run to the finals have some youth. Now, not saying that Golden State doesn't have any youth. They still have Moody. They still have Jonathan Kuminga. But Golden State's real old. So that's why I really think one of them is going to miss a significant part of time that will prevent them from making a run to the finals. Houston, my Houston Rockets, please suck. Please. We just signed all of these guys that I didn't even want on my basketball team. We could have done nothing in the offseason, and I would have been perfectly fine. I need this team to be one of the worst teams in the NBA because our pick that we traded for in the Russell Westbrook deal is a top 3 protected draft pick, which means if our pick doesn't fall within the top 3, it goes to OKC, which is worst case scenario. That is a terrible result to the season because we're already going to be bad. We're not gunning for a playoff spot. Don't look at this lineup and think we're gunning for a playoff spot. We're not. If we don't get anything from this season, that being a draft pick or a young player, it is a wasted season because we're not making the playoffs. You could say that it's not because, our young guys have progressed into something more like a Şengün. Şengün looks great. But I just think that if we're not adding anything to this team, because if I look at this young core, do I think that this young core is one of the best young cores in the NBA? Not really. Do I think that this young core in 5 years could make a push to the NBA to the finals? No. So I think it's one draft pick, one piece away. I sound like a Timberwolves fan. One piece away from having a really, truly great young core. The Indiana Pacers, going from one team I watch a lot to a team I haven't watched in a very long time. The Indiana Pacers. I put trade Miles Turner for 6 years in a row. I feel like it's been 6 years since I've been hearing about Miles Turner being traded, and he is still on this team. Why? They have a great young front court. They drafted Jarace Walker. They traded for Obi Toppin. They have guys in that front court that need the minutes that Miles Turner, I think, is taking away from them. That, and I feel like he's been thrown in trade discussions for years. I put 6 years. It's an exaggeration. He's been thrown in there for years. Does he really want to be in Indiana? No. Does anyone really want to be in Indiana? No. Moving on. The LA Clippers. Ooh, voice crack. This is a rough one. The Harden trade kept them in the same spot. There isn't 4 basketballs. Now, I think the Harden trade was a very good trade for the 76ers. You got something back for him. He literally said, I was only going to go to one team, and 28 other teams didn't want him. So you got something for him. That's a win, because you could have got nothing. But the Clippers, you trade for a guy who, in all of his playoff memory, has done nothing. You trade for another PJ Tucker. I like that trade. But your core 4 being Kawhi, who is coming off his load management season, PG, who's coming off 4 too many shoulder surgeries, Russell Westbrook, who's way past his prime, shoots the worst mid-range fadeaways I've ever seen in my entire life, and James Harden, who is the playoff ghost of all ghosts. And there aren't 4 basketballs. So how does this team work? Who are you going to give the ball to in crunch time? What are you going to even do offensively? Can any of these guys even play off ball? The answer to all of these in my head is no. None of these. I don't see this Clippers team working. I don't see them even better than the Lakers, which is sad because what have the Lakers done? And that's where I'm getting into the LA Lakers. Lakers, the GM after in-season injuries. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Anthony Davis is probably going to get hurt again after, 2 months of dominating. And it's just going to be LeBron and D'Angelo Russell. The guys that you extended, Austin Reeves, Gabe Vincent. You signed, how am I blanking on his name? Was drafted by the Hawks. Cameron? Nope, he played for Duke. You know who I'm talking about. Come on, he's right there. Anyway, I'm blanking, so I'm just going to skip on it. I can't believe I'm forgetting. Cam Reddish, there it is. Woo! Cam Reddish, who's shooting, Gabe Vincent, by the way, was shooting 7% from three, and Cam Reddish is shooting below league average. All of these guys that you went out of your way to sign in the offseason are below league average. So I think after the injuries, I think the GM is going to come in and reshape this whole team and maybe even get rid of Rob Pelinka. Moving on to the Memphis Grizzlies. They're missing the playoffs. They're starting off 0-4. Ja Morant's going to miss another 21 NBA games. I don't see this team making the playoffs in a stacked Western Conference. There's no way. And I felt like they had a lot more young versatility on this team. Not saying that they still don't or that they do. Brandon Clark being hurt throws a lot out of the table for them in terms of their defensive bigs. You're relying a lot on Jaren Jackson Jr. Also, they're sort of round moundy rebound guys like the David Roddies and the Kenneth Loftons. Can they stay on the court, and then can they provide you productive NBA minutes? These are all questions that I will need answered before Ja Morant comes back and plays basketball. That will determine if you are truly a Western juggernaut. The Miami Heat. This was probably the longest. Actually, no. San Antonio is the longest one I wrote down. Why are we still sleeping on this team? Like, we all saw what they did last year. We all saw what they can do. Why are we not still calling this team one of the 5 best teams in the West, or in the East, sorry. They have the ability to take you by storm in a 7-game series and leave you in the dust. They don't care what the regular season shows. They don't. They will go into the playoffs and they will out-hustle you. They don't care about the regular season. Don't sleep on Miami. If you see Miami in the playoffs, if you see Miami in the first round, you will have nightmares about them. I promise. Jimmy Butler is not a guy you want to mess around with in a 7-game series. The Bucks, I have them coming out of the East. They're coming out the East. The Dame trade, I don't see any way you can guard Giannis or Dame. This team is too good, especially in the East. It's very top heavy. That's probably the most basic one I have down for an NBA team. Just they're coming out of the East. Minnesota, I have give the keys to Ant. Stop trying to think that Karl Anthony Towns is, your franchise cornerstone. It's Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is a monster on offense. He's shown some defensive intensity, but we saw it in the FIBA tournament. He can score the ball like no other. He has the competitive tenacity. I think Anthony Edwards should be the cornerstone to this Minnesota team. They've had too many number 1 picks. The Gobert trade was bad. I think you need to start over and build around Anthony Edwards. New Orleans, I just simply put when this team is healthy, because I feel like we've been saying this now for 3 years, and it still rings true to this year. Zion is playing, which is great. Brandon Ingram isn't. That sucks. I feel like we're never going to get the full potential of this team. I feel like we're never going to see Brandon Ingram, Zion, McCollum, this young core, well, somewhat young core of guys playing at a very high level. I just don't see that happening. But when Zion plays, it's so much fun. This team is so fun. New York, I put trade Julius Randle, rebuild, start over. Yeah. Sort of like the Cleveland Cavaliers, just the definition of mid. And my boy QG's on this team. I love the Knicks, but I just don't see this team really doing anything in the playoffs at all, even though they beat the Cavs last year. OKC, I put a billion first round, or I put a billion picks. They have so many picks. They have 27 in the next 7 years. And then I put best young core in the NBA. It's not even close. Best young core. Orlando, I put Paolo Banchero overhyped. I think he's going to have a sophomore slump. I tried to stay away from this one, but Orlando, I just couldn't say no to it. I think that Banchero is going to come back down to earth a little bit. I think that he's going to have an all right year, but I keep hearing in my ear that it's like, oh, Banchero, he's going to have an all-star year. Like, he's going to come in and dominate. Orlando's not going to be good enough to have an all-star. And I'm not that impressed by Banchero. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of guys that love Banchero, but I'm not that impressed by him. Maybe that's what it is. I think there's an overlying key or pattern on this list. If the Rockets didn't get him, I'm just going to be mad. So I think that's probably what's going on here. Philly, I put Joel Ask out. I don't see Joel Embiid being a Philadelphia 76er for much longer. They've gone through too many processes, too many cores, too many guys have left. Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, Harden, all of these guys have left. He's the next. He's the next one to leave. Phoenix, I have Western Conference exit, and then I have 2/3 doesn't work. I only see this team, their big three, I only see 2/3 being on the court at any given time. I see one of them being hurt at one given time. So 2/3, I don't think 2/3 doesn't work. You need that full hole to be able to compete, and the 2/3 doesn't work. Portland, I put the Northwest Houston Rockets coming off a star trade, trading Damian Lillard. A lot of young guys on this team with a Shaedon Sharpe, a Scoot Henderson. They traded for Robert Williams, who I actually really like. I see this as the Northwest Houston Rockets. Yeah, West. Wow, geography, not my best subject. But they got a little bit of tanking to do before they're, in the contention eyes of the NBA. But great young core. Sacramento, light the beam, the funnest team in the NBA. This is one of my favorite teams in the NBA. This is such a fun team to watch. If you didn't watch them last year, they have a gimmick. They're a very fast-paced, offensive-oriented team. Malik Monk will come off the bench and drop you 20. Now, I know De'Aaron Fox is missing a little bit of time, but this is still a team that is very fun to watch. I'm very excited to see how this team does, even in the in-season tournament, which I will get into in a second because I have my opinions about that. Wemby will be haunting our dreams for years to come. He dropped 38 on KD. That was my headline for the Spurs. It's long. But, oh my God, did anyone watch that game last night? It was unreal. 38 points from a rookie on Kevin Durant? We were all thinking that, what is Wemby going to come in the league and do? Is he going to be overhyped? Is he going to need to gain weight? What is going to happen? Guys, the hype is real. I'm so scared of him because he's just down the street. I'm so scared. I don't want to have to deal with him in a playoff series. I don't want to have to deal with him just in divisional play. He's haunting my dreams already. Toronto, I put Scotty Barnes all-star. I think Scotty Barnes is going to have an all-star year this year. I think Siakam takes a backseat role. I think Toronto and whatever head coach they have now since isn't it now? Nope, that's Milwaukee's coach. Since they moved on from Nick Nurse, I think we'll finally give the keys to Scotty Barnes and they'll move on from Siakam. I think they moved on from Van Fleet to kind of give themselves a new young identity and to sort of, put behind that championship core they had. So now I think that they're going to give the keys to Scotty Barnes. Utah Jazz, I put the young scoring guards. This team is really good at drafting and getting young scoring guards. Like, they already have Jordan Clarkson. They drafted Ochai Agbaji, and then in this most recent draft, they drafted Keontae George. I really like those guys. And, of course, the Gobert trade. You got all those picks, plus a Walker Kessler. Danny Ainge is doing it right in Utah. And my final team is the Washington Wizards, by far the worst team in the NBA, and Poole is going to average 30 points on 58 shots a game, which is going to be terrible efficiency. But that's Jordan Poole for you. And finally, I put my takes on the in-season tournament. I will have to see it play out. I will have to see how it goes. But we've only played like 4 games, and we're already going into a tournament that matters. That's supposed to matter. It's a single elimination tournament. It's supposed to incentivize the players and to incentivize more competitive play in the regular season. But The only thing the players are really getting from it is money and a first-year trophy that has no history. So I think it's too soon to have it in the season. It's supposed to be a mid-season tournament, not the first quarter tournament. And I think that I don't think that a lot of star players will end up playing a lot of the group stage games. So I think that you'll have to incentivize guys to actually play the games a little bit more than just with money, which they already all have. That was my NBA presser, little kind of story I did today. I don't know what to call it at this point. I'm not very professional, but we got it done. I don't know how long it was, but maybe Victoria wants to get out of here. She's sick of me talking about basketball at this point. It's been like 35 minutes. She wants me to shut up. She wants me to leave. Everyone, thank you for watching. If you want more of me, spam those comments. Spam those comments. I'll do as many of these as you guys want. At least every quarter of the NBA season, I'll do one. But if you want more of me, I'll be here. Everyone, thank you. Peace.